Hello class, my name is Ksavchenko and I would like to talk about my research proposal about competitive motivations and downgrading of teammates in League of Legends. Online gaming evolved and grew into a significant part of our society. Answering questions why people play video games and the difference in individuals' video game play and behavior is really important because game developers use the data to improve games, satisfy gaming communities' needs, attract and cater to bigger number of people. In my proposal, I would like to use previously validated research on motivation to conduct an experiment to find a relationship between competitive motives, the in-game record data, history of the participants, and how they're gonna rank their teammate skills and teamwork contribution. Many research were done on motivations and they study different reasons on why individuals play video games and how they play them. And the massively multiplayer online games genre is one of the most studied, or MMOs. Massively multiplayer online games have different types. Massively multiplayer online role-playing games. The example is World of Warcraft, everybody heard about that. Another one is first-person shooter, Counter-Strike, also really popular one. Another one, real-time strategy and multiplayer online battle arena. The example is League of Legends, and that's the game that we're using for my proposal that I'm using. League of Legends is mobile RTS video game. This game features a strategic combat between 3 to 5 players who fight against each other as teams. The independent matches last between 25 to 45 minutes. Sometimes it's a lot longer. The game system conducts matchmaking of the players depending on their rank and skills and places them on the teams. Players have an option to play solo, duo, or build their own team of friends, other players who they previously added to their friend list. The success of the player and the game and the team depends on the teamwork and also on the degree of skills of each player. Sessions begin when each player chooses a character called a champion to play. Currently, LoL has 128 champions to choose from. Each champion has special unique abilities and spells. During the game, opposite teams try to destroy each other's forces, turrets, towers, and minions, and kill each other, and the end is get to team's nexus. After the game, each player gets a reward, influence points IP, that's the in-game money that you can use in the store to buy champions to own, and the amount depends if you lose or win. So there's only two options, victory or defeat. And there's also another mode called rank game. The players who play in that mode actually get points to go up in rank. If you lose a game, you actually have a penalty. So the score goes down and you can actually go down in rank. Depending on how the game goes for the player, some scores count toward champion kills, deaths, and assist rating. The mode that I'm using for the proposal is called custom mode. There is no penalty, no IP is given at the end of the game, and also no experience and no other ranking. So it doesn't hurt players' rank or their skill points at that point. So that's a good mode. In 2014, last year, the popularity of mobile game League of Legends increased to 67 million people playing it monthly. 27 players or playing the game daily, and the number will definitely get higher this year. And that's one of the reasons that this is right now the most played PC game in the world. They also have a world championship, and this year 30 million players were actually watching the championship online. And that's one of the reasons I pick up this game for my proposal, because the number of players that is available as participants is really huge. So let's do a little bit of literature review and actually start talking about motivations. There was a huge study done, and they had 3,000 participants, the players from World of Warcraft. This was the first large-scale survey to identify motivations for massively multiplayer online games and players. 10 motivational factors for online gaming were established. Later, they were identified as 3 broad types of motivations through an exploratory factor analysis of self-reported measures, and 10 motivational factors became subcomponents for 3 types. These 3 types were achievement, social, and immersion. The degree to which players want to be in control of the environment was achievement, with advancement mechanics and competition factors. Social motivation, including socializing, relationships, and teamwork factors, identified players who wanted to socialize and be cooperative with others in the game world. Finally, immersion with factors like discovery, role-playing, customization, and escapism classified players who wanted to escape their daily routines into the virtual world. Findings also showed some gender differences in motives. Male players scored significantly higher on achievement than female players, who scored higher on relationships components. The popularity of massively multiplayer online role-playing games can be explained by its appeal of satisfying different kinds of play styles for many players. So let's continue looking into individual differences. One previous study looked into personality traits and how they can be the sources of motivation for online gaming. The researchers found that personality trait cannot predict game behavior, but can identify why online gaming is valued. Online game players had higher scores in 3 personality traits: openness, consciousness, and extroversion, comparing to people who do not play games at all. Gamers who scored higher extroversion traits valued the social activities present in online games. Researchers found that gender was also associated with relationship motivation. Compared to male gamers, female gamers showed a stronger motivation to build and maintain a relationship in games. One of the research suggested that females in general value relationship more than males. Additionally, escapism motivation was positively associated with age. This means that with age, people start seeking entertainment and they're trying to escape from daily reality by starting playing online games. Also, participation in player versus player was also preferred by men, while women were more interested in exploring the virtual world. For example, quests were also preferred by older men, but younger still chose player versus player activities. Players, for example, who were dishonest and impatient had interest also in player versus player combat. High factors of psychopathy were present in these players' scores and showed possibility of manipulative, irresponsible, and competitive tendencies. Let's talk a little bit about social interaction in game. One of the studies confirmed that the stereotype of the regular gamer is young man. However, um, the young man didn't play alone. For example, in first-person shooter, the clans and in-game communities were popular in the game, and more than 80% of players were members of the clan. Committed players who were members of the professional or semi-professional clans had high scores on competition and challenge motives. Obviously, if you're in a clan, there are probably clan wars. I never played a first-person shooter, but I'm understanding that there's quite a competitive way of playing it. Members of the amateur and semi-professional clans had high scores on social interaction than non-clan members. Stronger motivation for social interaction was found in amateur clan members compared to professional and semi-professionals. One of the reasons is that the amateur clans were not as established as professional and semi-professional, and they were still looking and seeking for some communication to help clan members to grow in rank or establish more communication and more partnership, and also grow the in-game balance and status. Social experiences and in-game interaction benefit the players' social networks in the game. Clans and guilds and other virtual communities strengthen the in-game relationships and help in development of online friendships. By accomplishing collective goals, gamers support common interests and participate in the life of the virtual community to improve the game environment for other gamers. In clans and guilds, people tend to play with the partners they were familiar with. As a result, we're getting stronger ties of relationships through online gaming. Members of the clans were keeping in touch even though they were physically distant, but they still formed strong friendships. Also, the offline social support was coming from offline encounters of the clan members. So some of them would find out if they live in the same city, and they would meet each other, which grows and strengthen the friendships between the clan members. In another study, researchers investigated the behavior of playing with real-life friends in again World of Warcraft game. There were a lot of many benefits of playing with offline friends for players in gameplay. Researchers found that the relationship with real-life friends were enhanced if they played the game together. It was registered that players were protected from destructive elements of gameplay. They avoided problematic behavior, and they also avoided overplay in the game if they played with real friends. Playing with friends actually helped players to gain satisfaction and richness of the existing social connections, amplifying the fulfillment of the values and goals players were seeking. In other studies, more social interactions were investigated in online gaming. Online gamers who played genres like MOBA and massively multiplayer online games. They looked into social capital outcomes. The virtual world of League of Legends provided a range of social interactions and created multimodal communication environments to interact with other players and co-partners. This also helped with bonding social capital and bridging. Bonding means in-group environment that you bring more people and communicate with more people with the same interest that you have, and bridging means that you are starting bonding with people out of group. The game League of Legends actually enhanced the existing social relationship and help to build new social relationships through bringing in new people. Gamers were provided with more opportunities outside of the game environment, and they shared information and experiences. So I know that a lot of people heard a phrase from their mom like, games are not healthy for you, it's bad, it's a waste of time. But there were studies done to learn about cognitive abilities of video game players, comparing to non-video game players to establish the differences in performance. Many games of different genres exist to cater to a variety of players. When comparing first-person shooter and real-time strategy games, players of RTS had higher performance than non-video game players on task switching and multiple object tracking. Also, RTS players had an advantage over the FPS players, outperforming them on a wide range of cognitive abilities. The results suggested that cognitive functions were improved because demanding RTS games, its strategy, in-game mechanics require more visual attention resources, reaction time, and faster processing speed. So we're getting close to my method section. So I want to talk about the motivations of playing the League of Legends game. One of the research was done actually this year, and they presented a new scale for play motivations, and they did examine it through different two distinct gaming genres and cultures, drawing information and records from server-side data combined with the survey data of 18,000 players of the League of Legends. 6 types of play motivations were found: socializer, completionist, competitor, escapist, story-driven, and smarty pants. Socializers play video games so that they can build and maintain social relationships. They would also prefer to play in prearranged teams. It was important for them to chat with the friends while playing video games or use a voice communication when playing. It was also important to play with a tightly knit group. The completionists like to explore every element of the game to the maximum extent. It was expected that they're gonna try out as many different champions with their unique abilities as possible. The champions mostly every week there's 10 champions that are free to play for a week, and every week there's different, so you can play them for a week without buying. And the completionists actually tried as many champions as possible on those free weeks, and depending on how many were free, they played almost the whole number. They tried to master all elements of the game. They tried everything that is possible to do in the game, like try all the maps and all the champions, different roles, support, the attack damage champion, carry. They also tried to figure out how the game works inside out. The competitors were actually players who wanted to win the game and engage in behaviors that contribute to victory. They would describe themselves as competitive and confident in their combat abilities. Competitors were also engaging in behaviors that demonstrate their superiority to other players, such as killing other enemies. They would also frequently get double kills, triple kills, quadra kills, and pentas. As I mentioned before, kills, death assist, higher ratio in there. The escapists are the gamers who would actually play the game after an exhausting task, after an annoying situation, or under stress. They say they're using a coping mechanism. They are trying to make up for the issues going on in their real life, and they play the game to relax, maybe, and calm down. And as I mentioned before in other research, SKSB tendencies were correlated with age. So the older you are, the more frequently you're going to play to get out of that daily routine. The story-driven gamers scale addresses the player's desire for interesting stories in the game world. They try to learn everything about the backgrounds of the game characters. They also frequently read the Journal of Justice. It's the developer's newsletter outlining the ongoing lore of the game and all the news that are happening in this virtual world. The Smarty Pants dimension addresses players' desire to play video games in order to improve their brain power and enhance their intelligence. As I mentioned before, there are research done if there's any cognitive enhancing if you play online games, and plus probably then there's in real-time strategy games. It does demand a lot more time and speed and strategy going on in the game. The League of Legends does involve a lot of strategizing and quick decision making. The Smarty Pants gamers would describe themselves as analytical too, just from a lot of experience in strategy in this game. As you remember from the title of my proposal, we are looking at the competitors' motivation. This game is competitive and demands a great deal of cognitive resources that can produce some levels of hostile and aggressive behavior since players are competing against each other. Players are also required to play cooperatively as a team, so a lot of teamwork is required even if you play solo, but each individual player is ranked depending on their performance. The frustration that you depend on other people, the teamwork and skills are required from each player can cause verbal aggression, abuse, and hostility post-game. So for my experiment, for my research proposal, I need some participants, and participants will be recruited at the University of Idaho with the assistance of game developer of League of Legends Riot Games. The university has a large number of female and male students of different ages who play League of Legends frequently and also can be on competitive level. I do know that University of Idaho has a club dedicated to LOL, and occasionally they do put tournaments in the commons building for the club members. Other participants can be also any other university or any other industry where you can collect a lot of participants who will be interested in participating in the research on League of Legends and just play League of Legends for the research purposes. Let's talk about the procedures. The participants will be asked to complete a 20-item survey of motivations developed by researcher, and the slide we talked about previously with 6 motivation to play League of Legends. Um, that that survey has a 5-point Likert scale, asking if the participants agree or disagree with the statement. The survey data of the participants will be combined with the server-side data records of each of the participants to determine their motives for online gaming, especially for League of Legends. Participants will be put into 6 motivation groups: socializer, completionist, competitor, escapist, story-driven, smart dependent. A laboratory of 10 computers for participants playing LOL for the study will be set up at the University of Idaho Commons building somewhere close to get everything together. So we're going to have 2 experimental groups and 1 control group. Participants will be randomly assigned into 2 experimental groups. The students of University of Idaho will play one game against a team of Confederates who are League of Legends professional team. They will be playing under different usernames to protect their real and identity and avoid them being recognized. A lot of professional players are actually known by their usernames because that's their trademark, but not a lot of players, League of Legends players, know how they look like, so their appearance. So they use different usernames, fake usernames, going to be used for their setup professional team. Participants will not know. They will not be informed of their setup team. They're gonna think that those are the students, for example. I assume that I expect the students, the participant teams, to lose to the professional players because random science students don't have that teamwork and cooperation like established professional players, and because not working together, not being cooperative, they're gonna lose to already set up team that knows each other's strengths and weaknesses and would support each other. As I mentioned before, the game for the participant be made in the custom mode where players do not receive rewards and also don't receive penalties. This way we would avoid hurting players' rankings and ratings in game, and also their kills, death, assist rating. But this can actually not motivate them to play their best and try to win. So to motivate the players who wins the game will get a reward. As a reward, we're using a League of Legends collectible merchandise that would be provided by the developers Riot Games. So one experimental group will have reward introduced for the victory, and the merchandise will be given to the winning team, and we expect that the professional team gonna win all the time. The second group, experimental group, will not receive a reward for the victory. So our independent variable is the actual their motivations to play the game and the reward. We're removing the reward from the second group. This way we're gonna make sure that the reward actually emphasizes their frustration from the defeat and losing. The control group gonna have almost everything the same, and the participant will play against the setup League of Legends professional team, but the reward will be given to the defeated team. After the game is done, participants will complete the teammate evaluation survey. They have to rate their teammate on 1 to 5 scale on their skills and teamwork contribution. The control group is supposed to give a reliable baseline to compare the results from the experimental group. I hypothesize that League of Legends players who scored high on competitive motives will rank their teammate skills, the teamwork and the skills lower post-game than those who do not have highly competitive motives, like if they're smarty pants or SKP. The results from the study will help to determine the players who are at risk to report the players, their teammates after the game. If, for example, they lose the game, report to the tribunal the inside system of banning people and punishing them for bad behavior. The competitive people would probably ban them more frequently because of their frustration, because of their competitive motives. They would like to show their superiority from comparing to the other enemy's team. And if they don't like somebody doing mistakes and they're gonna point out all the mistakes to their teammates, they would rank their teammates lower and report them more frequently for bans, like for unskilled or abuse or intentional feeding. Intentional feeding means that the player intentionally dies to the enemy. And the results from this study will help to find the people who are at risk, who might be these people who unfairly report other players, and help to discipline the player and his or her behavior, and also to improve all the players' experience in game and make it more satisfying, and help to avoid those people right away and not experiencing bad behavior and bad game and have the game ruined, being the game ruined. And this is the end of my research proposal. If you have any questions, if you think that I didn't answer anything, you're welcome to email me. You're welcome to ask questions during the lecture, because it's recorded, so hopefully I'll be able to see it. So if you have any, you can say them out loud during the lecture, or just email me. I would really appreciate it. That's a good experience and just a huge help to improve my skills and my writing skills, and also improve my research proposal. I would really appreciate it. So thank you a lot for listening. Have a nice day.